Hi, guys. First of all, I want to say super welcome to those of you who are in Create Nation. I appreciate you joining the group. I appreciate you being active. That's important to me. And if you're not in Create Nation, I need you to head over to Facebook and join my Create Nation group. So we're just going to hold tight for just a few moments while everybody comes in to join us. I'm super excited about today's show. If you saw my live like an hour ago, then you know how excited I am to have this special guest. And I hope you got your questions ready. I hope you got your notebook ready, because we are about to drop some knowledge. Hey, guys. Hi, Jared. How are you? Guys, I love it when you talk to me, okay? I love it. It makes me feel good. So let me tell you this quick story. I was doing some work, like I often do, and I was typing some copy for some clients, and I was talking out loud. This is something I do often. If you talk to yourself or talk out loud when you're working, put a heart in the comments so I know I'm not crazy, okay? But I start talking. I looked up. I'm here with Nick. If you guys don't know Nick has a great show called Tea Time. Definitely check it out. It's happening at 8 o'clock. But I look over and Nick looks up at me like, someone else is here. You're being noisy. I'm like, what? I'm working. I'm so used to working by myself that I don't even notice when I'm talking out loud. Awesome, guys. Hey. Hi, Malachi. How are you? Good to see you. All right. So I see you guys are coming in. This is super exciting. If you are coming in from YouTube, hello to my YouTube family. I love you guys over there. You give me so much love. 2.5 million views type of love. I appreciate it so much. So I'm about to bring in the amazing Benir Pierre, but I want to set the stage, okay? You guys know I'm dramatic. This is what I do as a profession, okay? So a long time ago, okay? Maybe about 8 months ago. I got a message from this beautiful spirit who just reached out to me and spoke to me about my journey and poured some love and some wisdom into me. Little did I know that that was the start, the budding of a beautiful relationship, not just a professional relationship, but a friendship. So one of the things that I love that happened is Benir used to say, I have a foot in the woo, and she'll talk to you about what the woo is. And then she has a foot in reality. So I spent all of my time in this logical world, right? And because of that, I was hindering so much of my growth. Benir came in, and not only did she help me to monetize my business. Yes, let me say this. Monetize my business. I just celebrated a $5,000 day, not week, not month, a day. Okay. So not only did she help, she also helped me to heal some of the areas that I was struggling with not feeling valued in regards to charging for my knowledge, being afraid. She helped me to realize that everything that I went through the previous year helped to make me who I am today, to move forward with it. She used not just book smarts, because she's highly intelligent. I'm sure her IQ is up there with genius. Not just that, but her intuition. And she teaches you how to trust your gut. And creatives, you know, one of the biggest things that separates what we do from other people, from accountants, from lawyers, is that when we create, we're using our heart, we're using our spirit. We have to trust our gut, our intuition. And so this is not just about how you can make money. This is about how you can use all of you and put it in a package that will serve others. So without further ado, I need you to put some claps into the chat as I bring in the Benir Pierre. Hello.
Oh, you are so sweet. Hey, girl. Hey, how you doing, Create Nation?
I am so excited to have you on. I mean, I get the pleasure of talking to you all the time because you are my coach, but I'm super excited to have you share with Create Nation just possibility and help them to give themselves permission to jump out there and live their dreams. So first, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said about giving yourself permission to live your dreams, because really that is the bulk of my work. I work with people who are already geniuses. I work with folks who are already brilliant and creating so much magic. And so it really is about helping give purpose-driven leaders, visionaries, creatives the permission to, first off, walk out your magic, right? Like you said, you had a $5,000 day. I didn't create that for you. I simply showed you that you had the power to do it, right? So I give creatives and leaders permission to walk out their magic, and then I teach you how to monetize that so that not only are you creating the impact that you want, but you're maximizing your income. So it is absolutely a pleasure to be here with you today, Keisha.
So one of the things that I love, okay, is monetize your magic, because you know, so many people are like, monetize your business, monetize your craft, but monetize your magic. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means to you?
Absolutely. So first off, I think it's amazing to monetize your business, but the truth is that I'm not always operating in my business, but I do believe in monetizing my life. And so for most things that I do, there will be some coins exchanged. And often when we think about really monetizing, your business, so many people have imposter syndrome and feel like there are certain things that, maybe they don't have the certifications or the education or all of these lies we tell ourselves that stop us from being great. You were born with your magic, so you don't need anything else added to what you already have to create not only abundant income, but to really create, again, that impact. Most people that I'm working with, it's not even about the money. $5,000 days are wonderful. I have a client who her first month working with me hit a $70,000 month. But the money is really a byproduct of walking in purpose. So when I say monetize your magic, first that means getting in touch with your magic, really understanding your unique gifts, why you were created and put on this earth, and then monetizing your whole life, honey.
Your whole life. Your whole life. I say that from experiencing this and going through this journey with you, that is so true. We never focused on the money. You helped me to get clear on my purpose. And we're still doing that. It's still evolving. And it's just so amazing that once you get clear about your purpose, you bring in the abundance. And Absolutely. That is, those of you in Create Nation, I know that sometimes we struggle with, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? But taking the time to get really clear about that helps. It really helps. I'm doing a whole Zoom meeting about finding your purpose, but that is a great way to start. So this week we're talking about digital products which I absolutely love. I spend so much money on digital products and
Mhm.
digital content. And now that I create it, it is absolutely amazing to see people purchasing from me. But I wanted to talk about, where do you start? Where do you start if you want to jump into this digital world?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I want to address one quick thing that you just said. Um, you talked about the fact that, we didn't focus on money, that money is the byproduct. And I 1000% agree with that. Money is just energy. And so it's really important, again, to get clear on what are your unique gifts that you put out into the world. There's a difference between what you're great at, what people need, what serves that need, and what can actually be monetized. And
Right.
so part of really recognizing where do I start, and how do I create change is getting clear on not only what problem are you solving, but what is the need in the first place. So I would say before you do anything, do some market research. Really have a clear understanding of who you're creating for. Have a clear understanding of who you are in the first place. Make sure that what you're creating, I help clients create soul aligned products. So this isn't about monetizing everything. Folks are, oh my goodness, out here, and especially now with all these MLMs, folks have 20 income streams. Not one of them is profitable, but we're going to talk about that later. And,
Oh,
and none of them are really aligned with their true
right,
calling. And
right.
so I believe that if you are really doing the work of your soul, the work of your spirit, that you never have to work again a day in your life. So first, do the research with self, first and foremost. Get clear on what that thing is. Secondly, get clear on what is the actual need in the marketplace, because everything that we want to create, isn't necessarily something that can easily be monetized. And that's not to say that it can't be. It just isn't always as easy as you think. So make sure that there is a need. Make sure that you're not recreating the wheel. Make sure that you're not, having to fight against convincing folks that they need this in the first place. So identify the problem, identify your unique solution to that problem would be the first step.
Wow. Yes. And I love what you said about soul aligned businesses. I think that is so key. And a lot of times we know when it doesn't feel right. We know when it's not aligning with our spirit. And sometimes we say we don't want to give up. We want to keep going. The thing is, guys, when you are doing something that aligns with who you are, it feels right. It doesn't mean it's without challenges. It doesn't mean it's without obstacles, because that's going to happen, but it feels right. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how much should we be incorporating what it feels like, or our gut feeling or our intuition into what we're doing and what we're creating.
100%. You already knew that was going to be my answer. So, this brings me back to the last conversation that you and I had, because sometimes there's
Mhm.
this thought that in order to use your intuition, that somehow you have to turn off your logic. And it's not either or. This is about the marriage of the two. Your
Mhm.
experiences matter, your education matters, all of the things that have come together to make you who you are matter. So it would be a huge disservice to only listen to intuition or only listen to logic. And so
Mhm.
I think that it's really important to check in with yourself. And a really simple way to do that is, let's say that you have this brilliant idea. And of course, as creatives, the ideas never stop. You have
That's
this
right.
brilliant idea. Really check in with yourself, experience it with your senses. How does this feel? Allow yourself to fully map out the end result and check in. You know, when I look at this vision, how do I feel? When I
Mhm.
touch this vision, when I hold this vision, is it heavy or is it light? If I smell it or taste it, and like really fully let yourself be in this. If I taste this vision, does it taste bitter to me? Does it give me a stomach ache? Or do I feel energized? Check in. We
Right.
receive information through our senses, and so we can use our senses to guide our intuition. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it works. I will admit, because, I have some resistance, and I'm sure some of you who are listening now, especially if you come from the place of like logic, you might have some resistance. I had resistance at first. Like, what? What do you mean? I
Mhm.
don't care what it feels like, smells like, tastes like. I just want to do this because I think it's a brilliant idea. But let me tell you guys, it works. You must live and breathe it to really, 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 really move forward in it. So it absolutely works. And that's the part of the woo, one foot in the woo.
And it makes your job easier though, because I want you guys to think about, because I'm sure that this is not the first time you've had the idea to launch something. And so if there is anyone here who's watching and you've launched to crickets, you just knew it was going to be the best idea. Like, this is life changing. Oprah is going
Right.
to feature me. Beyonce is going to endorse
Yes.
this. Like, this is everything. And you
Yep.
launched and not a single person cared about what you were selling. If that's something you've experienced, talk to us in the comments. But
Yeah.
so I'm sure that, this is nothing new for you. And so again, by allowing yourself to be led by your intuition, but informed by your logic. So again, your feelings don't get to run the show here. We can be led by them, but informed by our logic, absolutely. When you operate in that space, then there's constantly this check-in with self that says, is this actually the path that I need to be taking? There are a number of tools that I give clients, everything from automatic writing to working with pendulums, to really dig deep and check in. But if you're only operating from logic, and that logic didn't have you checking, some of your blind spots that maybe logically wouldn't have been a blind spot. Who planned for Corona when you
Right.
were working at your event and speaking list for 2020 with your logic? But there
Right.
were many people who intuitively knew that for these next few months, something's telling me I just need to take a break. I need to focus. I need to pivot. So when you allow space for your intuition, then it solves the unknown. It gives you, it's your superpower, It it would be so much more difficult to do the work that we do. And as a creative, you know this.
Right.
Even if you think you're operating logically, so much of what you do is intuitive.
Absolutely.
The decisions that you make about casting, the decisions that you
Mhm.
make about even the colors you use, so much of it is intuitive. And
Yeah.
so this isn't anything new that we're asking you to do. It's just about slowing down enough to be present and mindful with the energy and recognize, okay, this is what my intuition is actually saying. Here's how I
Mhm.
respond.
Absolutely. Patricia says space for intuition. Love it. Yes. So what made you actually transition from working a 9 to 5 to stepping into your purpose and your power?
I mean, if I'm being 100% candid, I was losing money in my business by continuing to work a 9 to 5. I
Mhm.
had been working so I've been full time now in my business for about 3.5 years. So at that point, maybe about 4.5 years, I'd been working on my business. Maybe a year and a half of that was serious because, you know, the first 3 years was a whole lot of ideas, whole lot of logic, whole lot of flops, you know, a whole lot of failures. And so about a year and a half before I quit my job, I decided that I was tired of having a dream. I wanted to live my dream. And so I made the commitment to do one thing every single day to make a difference. And a few months before I ended up quitting my job, I realized that I was at a place that I couldn't really accept any more private clients. I worked full time and then I worked 50 hours a week in my business. And so there literally was no more time to add to the plate. And that is actually when I discovered the amazing magical power of passive and digital products. And so I was January, intuitively. So, you know, we're talking about letting your intuition lead. So I actually think this is perfectly fitting. So that January, I had this dream that I was going to create a course on manifestation. And I had no clue what I was going to talk about, no clue how I was going to sell it or anything. And I was getting ready for work one day, and one of my gifts is clairaudience. And essentially what that means is clear hearing. So sometimes I hear stuff. Some folks might call it crazy. It's my superpower. So I literally heard a radio advertisement of the entire campaign. It gave me the entire sales page, the entire campaign. And so I launched it that weekend, sold out the first round of the course, sold out the second round of the course, and we were promoting for the third round of the course. And I was sitting at work, and, you know, it had been on my mind for quite some time. Of course, the reason that I launched these things is because I knew I wanted to quit. But I'm sitting at work and I'm looking at my PayPal going, and I'm like, damn, I just made a month's salary sitting here the first hour of my workday. And if I could just get these 40 hours a week off of my plate, imagine how much space I would have to really create the things that I want. And so I prayed, I conferred with a few friends, and one friend got me together real godlike, and she said, you know, you've already seen a little bit of success. You've already seen that you can do this. You've already seen that you can sell out courses. You've already seen that people want what you're creating. Right. So you can trust yourself and continue to get the little bit that you've already had. And that little bit at that point, you know, like I said, I had already made a month's salary in an hour of work. So I was making about 2.5 times my monthly take home from my job. So I could afford it logically, but the fear was like, oh, but girl, what if? Right. So I said, you can trust yourself for this little bit, or you can trust God for the lot. And in that moment, I decided, you know what? I trust God for the lot. So if I know I can do this little bit on my own, God, I trust you that together we got this. And I put in my notice the day after my birthday, and my last day of that job was April 15th, 2017. And I have not.
Wow. That is amazing. And one of the things that I stress to anybody I speak to is that we're no different. Like, could do it, if I could do it, then those of you who are listening, who are feeling insecure, you can do it. You know, we can do this.
You know, I took a deep breath when you said that, because those were the lies I told myself, that I had to have been, you know, doing this for X amount of time, or I had to have saved a certain amount of money. Now, looking back, I wish I had saved more, only because that would have taken some of the initial hustle off the plate. But, you know, one thing that I tell people is either save up 6 months of your bills ahead of time, or make your bills 6 months consistently. So when you hit one of those, then at least you have the peace of mind that you don't have to go into launch fever, which is what I did for my first year. I was constantly launching, constantly putting something out because I thought I had to do that to make consistent money. But, once you really make that decision, there is nothing that can stop you. When I first went full time, I was sitting on the floor of my living room with no furniture, on a little blanket pallet with a plastic container as my desk and an iPad as my computer because my laptop had broken. And I literally manifested everything. I was borrowing my neighbor's Wi-Fi, girl. And I literally manifested everything. And so I say that to say it doesn't matter what the circumstances look like. If you have the magic, which we all do, if you have the brilliance, which we all do, nobody's smarter than you or knows more than you. They just know differently. So take what you know, take your magic and start where you are.
Absolutely. I just get so excited because I know that this message is reaching someone right now who needs to hear it, who needs to know. So there's two things I wanted to touch on real quick. The first is, can you break down for us what passive income is and as it relates to digital content? And then I want to talk a little bit about manifestation. So let's start with the passive income. What does that look like?
So passive income is, when we look at the way that it's defined by the IRS, it's essentially the opposite of active income. So active income is income that you made as a result of hours worked. So, it's this idea of being paid for your time, which I think is absolutely foolish. If you get paid for your time, that means that you have a cap of 24 hours that you can be paid for in a day. When you're paid for your brilliance, the sky is the limit. So passive income is really creating something that pays you. So in this context, because of course there are many forms of passive income, anything from licensing the rights of something that you create. So for those who are filmmakers, if you create a documentary, for example, then you can license those rights to educators or, to any company to then be able to screen that and you get paid for them using your content. So that would be an example. But when we talk about passive income in the sense of digital products, essentially what I'm talking about are courses, digital downloads, again, things that you create once and are paid for eternity.
Yes. For someone who spent so many years trading time for money, man, every play, every film, that's hours of work. When we started to develop content that would result in passive income, it was so liberating. I had, forget the money, just the
time. Yes.
Yes. And so I am huge on encouraging creatives, artists to start to develop things that can produce passive income. You don't get stuck in thinking, well, I only produce theater, so what else is there to do? That is a wealth of knowledge. Teach it, share it, all of that stuff. And so manifestation, in today's world, that is definitely a buzzword. Manifestation, law of attraction, healing, inner child, all of this stuff, right? People just throw it around. And however, one of the things that I love about going through your specific programming is having the tools to manifest, and understanding that it really is not just one piece of the puzzle. It's not just feeling, it's not just thinking. It is a whole big puzzle, a whole big pizza pie that we need to eat, in order to allow the manifestation to happen. We can't take a slice or 2 slices, So can you talk a little bit about not just manifestation, but the things that you offer to help people through that?
Absolutely. So really simply put, because I agree with you, it's such a buzzword, and a lot of people don't even recognize that you're always manifesting. Manifestation is a lifestyle. To me, manifestation really is self-mastery. And if it was about just saying, I want this, and then, tapping into your power and creating it, now, yes, that is also manifestation. But the reason that you have that power, first of all, you've worked through the things that allow you to trust your flow. You've worked through the resistance that comes up. You've worked through the attachment to things. So it's a matter of really mastering those things within yourself. Now, that said, manifestation is, I think the reason a lot of people get it wrong is that they focus on the intention, they focus on the beliefs. They're like, you know what? I wrote it down. I did my vision board, girl. I did my cut method. I wrote it on my manifestation list, and I believe that I'm going to have it because, I deserve it. I'm a goddess. But then they don't do any action.
Man.
And the problem, and that's why I said you can't divorce your logic from your intuition. And so, yes, it takes intention. My formula for manifestation is clear and focused intention. First and foremost, know what you want. Yes. Period. You can't know where you're going if you don't at least have some destination in mind. So know what you want. Number 2 is unwavering faith. And that's the kind of faith that goes beyond just believing to knowing. That is the type of faith that, come what may, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I still know that this thing that I have my intention on, this or something greater, is manifesting for me. It doesn't matter if it doesn't come when I want it to, it's manifesting in perfect timing. So having that unwavering faith that, come what may, this intention or something greater shall be revealed. And then finally is aligned action. And that's where a lot of people stop. They have the faith. They pray for 20 years and, 14 nights for the same thing, believing God. I'm believing God for a change. I'm believing God for my business. I'm believing God for all of these things. And, I kind of roll my eyes and say it a little facetiously, because do we truly believe it when we take it back? Do we truly believe it when we try to put our hand in the mix and we try to, change things? So I think that sometimes we get caught up in, I see it, I believe it, but it's not happening. And it's because you're sitting down waiting for it to come to your door.
Right.
A lot of people think that receiving is a passive position. Receiving is very active.
Yes.
I think about football. And if the quarterback throws the ball and the receiver is not in position to receive it, it's not going to be caught, right? You're not going to get it just because you believe that you can catch it from over here.
In position.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need to get into position. And so when we talk about getting into position, that is doing the work. You asked about, some first steps, and I have an amazing resource for those who are looking for it. I have a workbook that will walk you through exactly how to create your signature program. It helps you build out the actual framework for it. And this is not just the framework for your courses or your products. This is the framework for your whole wealth of knowledge, so that whenever you go to create another product, you can go back to this framework and pull a piece of the framework. So that said, You can have this brilliant idea for a course in your head. You can have the intention that this course is going to sell out. You can believe all day that it's going to sell out. But if you never actually do the work to put the course together and put it out there, so manifestation, simply put, is clear and focused intention, unwavering faith, and aligned action. But you have to do the action.
You have to do the work.
Yes. You don't get to bypass it, unfortunately.
Right. I say this all the time to my clients who want to, just go from 10 YouTube subscribers to 10 million, without doing the work. It will happen.
Yes.
Do the work.
So I want to address one quick thing, and I know this is not talking about manifestation, so, I'm not going to stay here too long, but, one thing that I also find with a lot of clients is this idea of, I have so many people who come to me and they want me to wave my magic wand, of which I have plenty. They want me to wave my magic wand and take them from $0 months to $100,000 months. Now, I just told you guys earlier about my client who hit $70,000 in a month. So obviously it's very possible. But again, this is where the work comes. And so when you are creating your digital products, when you are monetizing your magic, period, it's important to make sure that you have the capacity to hold what you're asking for, which is another reason that passive products are so amazing, because you can sell them to 1 million people and it doesn't really take any more time. It doesn't take any more effort. But if you're creating containers and creating space to serve, that, again, there's a limited amount of hours. There's a limited amount of space. How many hours does it take for you to actually fulfill each order? I actually have a profit planning worksheet that I give clients that really has them look at not only what are you wanting to bring in each month, which I think is the easy thing. A lot of folks can just throw out any number. And, again, going back to the idea of manifestation, make sure that when you're throwing out that number, you have a whole wealth of problems that come with $100,000 months that don't exist at $1,000 months. So just make sure you know what you're asking for. But regardless, when you decide, I want to have 10K months, the next thing is to then look at what is the maximum amount of time I'm willing to invest for those 10K months. What's the maximum amount of energy that I'm willing to invest? For those of us who are highly sensitive, for those of us who do spiritual work, it's a lot to work with clients. And so even though you might have, 30 hours a week that you can invest to clients, I guarantee that 30 hours a week in private clients, that's burnout. And so get really crystal clear, but also be realistic with the amount of work you're willing to do to hit that goal.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there because I'm all about the real, honey.
Yes. And I love it. I feel like nowadays it's either people who are not real and it's just like, it will happen, or people who are so strict, like you need to have this amount of money for Facebook ads and you need this. So I think it's so refreshing to have a balance and to hear how successful, in my opinion, essential having that balance is. What I have learned is things have to work in harmony. Your logic and your intuition have to work in harmony in order to bring forth what it is that you truly want. And the journey for me is really getting those things to work in harmony. So one of the things that I want to kind of jump into is this idea of framework. So if you are in any kind of program or taking any kind of class, and you might understand what that term means. But I know we have a lot of creatives who are just out there creating wonderful things and aren't really clear about what business framework is and why it's so important. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So essentially, your framework is really going to be the foundation of your programs or your services. So really, this is a detailed outline that shows your proprietary process from A to Z. So when clients come in for their initial consultation, here is the first checkpoint, second checkpoint, third checkpoint of what they will accomplish in working with me. And so the problem that a lot of people run into when they don't have a framework is, one, they create really amazing things, but there's no consistency. There's nothing that lets the audience know, here's the next logical step. So now that I've finished step one with you, the next logical step is step two, because the creator doesn't even know what step two is.
Right.
And so the first problem, like I said, is no consistency. The second thing is, even if you have that consistency, you're having to recreate the wheel every single time. Every time you sit down to create a new program, every single time you sit down to create a service, or, even if it's something as simple as going live on Facebook, you're having to figure out, what am I going to talk about? Why am I going to talk about this? What are my points? When you have a framework, again, this is the cheat sheet for your proprietary system. Any client who comes to you is going to fall. Now, everyone is not necessarily going to need every part of your framework. There may be some folks who are already at an intermediate level, so they don't need some of the primary or beginner things that you might teach to someone who has no idea, anything about your topic or what you're teaching them. But it helps you make sure that everything you're putting out there can fit somewhere in the framework. So even when I'm pressing the live to go onto Facebook, I really should be able to pull out my framework and say, okay, this fits under module 2, under this section, and here's the next logical step. Here's the call to action. Here's the program that I have that is aligned with this specific topic. So I promise, having a framework, and again, this resource that I have for you guys walks you through exactly how to do this, but having a framework just makes your job so much easier. If you look at anyone who is doing well in their business, particularly those who have, either a lifestyle business or their business is a personal brand, for the most part, they're probably talking about the same things over and over. They may talk about it from a different angle. They may talk about it, in depth in certain programs, but for the most part, there's going to be a core message that's being put out. That is the foundation of your framework.
Man. And it is an essential tool to have in your toolbox for success, guys. Especially, in my opinion, for creatives, because we're all over the place. It's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, but to bring everything to a focus, to a framework, and see how it fits is really an essential tool to have in your toolbox. So guys, we're going to start to wrap this up. Before we do, if you have any questions, I want you to go ahead and drop them in the comments so that we can make sure that we get to them before I have to say goodbye to Miss Benir. But before we go into talking a little bit more about the offer that I want you guys to definitely look into, I wanted to ask you, Benir, if you could give us three wise words, 3 essential things or rules that we can take with us as we move forward in our businesses? What would those three things be?
So I think it just kind of goes back to what I was saying before. So the first thing is know yourself. Um, Make sure that you have a really clear understanding of your brand identity. So many people start business, and when they think about their branding, the first place their mind goes are their logo, their colors, their website, their fonts, and nothing about the true identity and soul of your brand. So, first and foremost, know who you are, know what you want to put out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, know who you serve. Everybody is not your client. And not only is everybody not your client, every offer is not for every client.
Oh,
So get really, really clear on not only the demographics of your clientele, but also the psychographics. So of course the demographics, that's looking into how old is your target market, how much money are they making, what's their level of education, etc. The psychographics, this is really going deep into how do they think, how do they feel, what things motivate them, what things trigger them, what are their pain points, what are their weaknesses, what are their fears, etc. Get really, really, really crystal clear. And if you need help with either of those, I also have a resource for that at that same website. So go ahead, check out the store, use the same code to save 50%. And then thirdly, so once you know who you are, once you know who you serve, then the third tip I would give is make sure that you are solving a problem.
mm.
Every great idea, we can monetize a whole lot of things. And, folks have OnlyFans proving that you can monetize about anything, right? However, when we talk about sustainability in business, when we talk about the longevity of your business, the businesses that outlast recessions are businesses that solve a problem. So get really, really clear on the problem that you solve. And when you are positioning your product, make sure you're positioning it as the solution. So just a quick thing that I want to say, when things really changed here in America. Of course, months before they had already hit the rest of the world. But when coronavirus really hit in America and we quarantined and they started canceling a lot of live events, several of my clients were unsure if they should be promoting their business at this time. And then, of course, now we're dealing with, the protests, and it's really important that everyone is culturally sensitive. And so there's this question of, oh my God, is it okay to promote myself right now? Is this insensitive to promote myself? The thing that sets apart businesses that thrive during this time and businesses that have to make a major pivot and try to figure out something new are the businesses that know that their product, their service solves a problem. You are essential if you are the solution to a problem. And it doesn't even matter if that problem is something simple, right? So like I think of, for example, paparazzi. Most people would think paparazzi is just some cheap jewelry. No,
Right.
no offense to anyone who sells paparazzi.
No.
But a lot of people think like it's just some inexpensive jewelry. It doesn't actually solve a problem. So I should probably stop selling it at a time like this.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that if you can position it in such a way that you recognize the problem that it solves, because for the person who may not be able to afford more expensive jewelry, but needs to feel beautiful when she looks at herself in the mirror, it solves a major problem.
Yeah.
So get clear on who you are, get clear on who you serve, and then make sure that you're positioning your offers as the solution to the problem that your clients have.
Man, that last one right there, to me, I feel like people pay thousands of dollars to go through coaching programs to understand that you position yourself to solve a problem, and that is the key. And I also want to thank you for bringing up what a lot of us feel? Is it okay to still promote? Is it when my timeline is filled with everything that's going on in the world, is it insensitive for me to then speak about, you know, my business or my art or my work? And so I think you really helped us, you know, myself included, gain some clarity around that. So we have a question from Myra. Myra says, I guess my question would be, how do I keep my motivation? I set my plans. I write my ideas down. I have been working, but being home, I have started to lose some motivation. I'm just trying to keep up momentum.
Whew, that is a big one that a lot of people are facing. I look at so many people who are not used to being home, and now that you're home full time, I agree, there are a lot of distractions.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would say is be realistic with yourself. If we are being 100% honest, there's so much out there saying right now you need to be productive. If you come out of this and you don't have a new business, you don't have a new stream of income, you're lazy or something's wrong with you. And the truth is that maybe that's just not your response to trauma, is to be at your most productive. So be realistic. There's a lot happening right now. Not even knowing what's happening in your personal life, Myra, just the tension that exists in the entire world right now. Like, I wish we could say it's just in your city or in your state. It is literally in the world. And so even if you personally have not been affected, you might be experiencing secondary trauma just from scrolling on Facebook and seeing so much that's happening, and it isn't new. So for a lot of people, it's triggering PTSD, and not to make this like so extra heavy, but the reason that you are at home is because of quarantine from coronavirus. So we're going to call a thing, right? So be realistic with yourself about what your capacity really is at this time. The second thing that I would say is start off small. Rome was not built in a day. And so if you recognize that you do have the capacity to do some work, but maybe your capacity is not to write a book in a day, then maybe write a chapter a day. Or if that's too much, maybe write a page a day or a paragraph a day. I think that it's more important to be consistent than it is to put out all of this content up front and then be burnt out for the next 12 months.
Yes. I love that. Consistency to me, that is a magic word. So I love that. Be consistent. So I know we mentioned a little bit about your workbook, but I don't know if we actually said that if you are a part of Create Nation, you get 50% off. Okay, guys? I told you when I went on my live before the show, I never do shows as a selling point. This isn't about selling. Benir is dropping some gems, but I also am very intentional about bringing people on who are able to support you guys in what you're doing. So first of all, thank you, Benir, for blessing, my tribe with 50% off anything that you have going on. I truly.
And I was going to say, that's love, because that's not even my MO.
Not 10%, not 20, 50%. Okay. So I'm telling you guys, get the Create Your Signature Frame workbook. It's 50% off, and framework is your foundation. So is there anything you want to add to that, Benir?
I think just for those who are looking for a good starting point, This coupled with now, even though we only mentioned the Create Your Signature Framework workbook, I realized that really getting clear on your soulmate client is also going to be helpful for you. So I'm going to take off 50% of that as well. So both of these resources are going to be available at that site. And for those who have been looking for the answer to where do I start, I promise this is a godsend. You have manifested this moment. So
Yes.
make sure you go and get it.
Yes, yes, yes. So again, thank you for that 50% off. Guys, I put it in our chat. It's right up here on the screen. I will make sure I follow up and put it in our Facebook group. And once you make this purchase, please let us know. Let us know. I really like to see the things that you guys are really utilizing. It helps me to tailor the content for this collective that we're creating over here. So once again, 50% off. Benir Pierre, the intuitive life coach, is absolutely amazing. From a business standpoint, just from an inspiration. If you are not on her Facebook page, you need to get on it because you will be inspired. But also, I'm bringing to you guys the people who have helped me. You know, I would not be where I am today and where I'm growing to without this woman right here.
It has been such an honor to support you, Keisha. It really has been. And I just want to say this publicly in front of Create Nation. I am so tremendously proud of you. I know you guys have seen her glow up, and this is just the beginning. There's so much stuff we're working on behind the scenes, but I am so proud of your growth, so proud of your journey, and keep doing what you are doing. You are killing it.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, did you guys the world was crashing down. But that is a sign because I was thinking, should I announce what next week is going to be about? And I was contemplating it. But look, the universe told me I should announce it. Next week, we are focusing on books, writing your book. Whether you have a novel, whether you have a self-help book, whether you have an ebook, whatever it is, next week we're going to focus on giving you the tools to tell your story, which you guys know I am all about. So once again, Benir, thank you, Create Nation. Thank you. If you have any more questions, do not hesitate to ask. Benir is a part of Create Nation, so you can go in there and talk to her. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Benir, I love you, and thank you for your time, talent, and energy. Bye.